Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Roadrunner podcast, straight out of Vegas. I don't want to punish you and not continue my story and complete it where I left off my last podcast regarding the incident when I was locked up in Atlantic City at a Mays Landing jail for 90 days. Well, originally my bail was $10,000, and that meant my bond to bond myself out of jail was $1,000, 10% back in the day. Now I've heard it goes up to 12%, which it did in Baton Rouge when I was locked up just recently in April 2024. It was 12%. So they figured out ways to incorporate their income with inflation. So they always try to stay ahead of the inflation game or equal to it. But as far as I'm concerned, they're ahead of the inflation game when they went up 12%. Because putting up to 12% is totally sensible if you've got a life, if you've got any life whatsoever, and you want to stay out of jail before you see the judge. That's what you do. You put up to 10%, which is what I did exactly 24 years ago when LeBron James played his first year in the NBA at the age of 18. Because I can remember sitting in jail and watching every game because the guards loved LeBron James, and the Cleveland Cavaliers were the number one team throughout America as far as America was concerned, because Cleveland had LeBron James. What a great player at the age of 18. I mean, he totally matured earlier in life, and that's probably one of the reasons why you even hear about LeBron James. If he matured later on in life, like I did when I was 5'4" and I was a sophomore in high school, they didn't want me on the basketball team because I was too short. And any short NBA player, any NBA player in the NBA, any player that's like 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot, they can stuff the basket. Definitely stuff the basket. And one of the reasons why they're such great players is because they have very large hands to where they can grab that ball and control it. And that's part of being able to stuff the basket. So I just was barely able to stuff the basket. And then it was almost like I never played basketball again. And that was around the age of 20 when I was able to finally stuff the basket. So I was a very good athlete, but I'm not going to make the NBA. I mean, I might have been able to play college ball and been a good high school player, but that's probably as far as it goes. So I don't believe I had the God-given talent to be a basketball player. I had more talent to be a baseball player than a basketball player because I was a left-handed hitter, and I had a hell of an arm. But I threw my arm out when I was like 15 years old. I threw my arm out right before I entered high school. My best friend taught me how to throw a curveball. Like, he did it on purpose. I don't know. This guy became a doctor later on. He went to Harvard University in med school. First graduated from Harvard and then went to the med school at Harvard University, I believe, is where he went to med school. So he was extremely smart in school. He was actually the president of our high school. But, as far as having loyalty to me, like I had loyalty to him, it didn't exist. I was definitely the better friend. I believe that he had me taught me how to throw curveballs because he was jealous because I had such a great arm throwing the baseball. I could throw it so fast, and as an outfielder, I had a great arm to throw it in the home plate. But after he taught me how to throw curveballs, my arm was never the same. I could never throw the same. I never had the strength in my arm that I originally had that God gave me. It was like he got me to take the vaccine pill, got me to swallow the vaccine pill and talked me into it. When he knew it was bad, but he still did it. Or he wasn't sure of it being good, but he still did it. So that's kind of like the same thing, like kind of talking me into taking the vaccine pill if I was around him when we were adults. And say like in 2018, when COVID came out, and he wasn't sure of the vaccine, but he talked me into taking the vaccine so that I'd have the same effect in my body that he had in his body, because maybe he was forced to in his job. He had to take the vaccine, like a lot of people did. They were forced to take the vaccine, and just to keep their job. Even people in the military were forced to take the vaccine to stay in the military. A lot of them were kicked out. God bless Trump for giving them back their back pay. Because Biden had no balls. He was like he was a lying sack of shit, lied to the American people right from the start. Now these politicians, these Democratic politicians, talking about the way you're supposed to go against ICE. Okay, well, first you shove 22 million people, illegal aliens, down our throat, bringing them into America, thousands every day on a daily basis, walking through our borders like it meant nothing, breaking our laws automatically, and you just sat there on your asses and just supported everything that Biden and his Borders Our Kamala did, including Mayorkas, which is a lying sack of shit. I call him a bald-faced liar in my book, and he definitely is, and definitely was, and he will die a liar, because he's got no loyalty to himself. He's a whore in the wind. He claims he did everything that Biden wanted him to do, so that's a whore in the wind. If you have no personal beliefs and you can't stand up to bad leadership, then you're a whore in the wind. It's that simple. And that's why all Democrats are whores in the wind, because they all stick together like bees in a beehive and vote anything against what Trump wants, because they don't want Trump to be successful. They want to give him as hard of a time as possible. They block everything possible that he tries to incorporate, such as Obamacare. They already know that Obamacare is not going to have an effect over. It's actually less than 1% of the American public where it's going to lower their premiums on health insurance. Less than 1% of the American public, and this is the agenda that the Democratic politicians are trying to shove down Americans' throats. It's incredible. They don't care about the American people. They want power. They care about their party. They care about socialism. They want to incorporate socialism into America. They want to take away our rights. They want to destroy our democracy and recreate it. They would like to write a new constitution if they can get away with it. As far as weak-minded Republicans go, we just got rid of one. Don Bacon from Nebraska, a congressman from Nebraska who wanted to impeach Trump for trying to take over Greenland. Well, is he supposed to wait for China or Russia to take over Greenland? His national defense is not about the present day. It's about the future. And that's exactly what's going to happen. One of those countries is going to take Greenland, so we need to grab it first. And as far as Europe goes, they've been sitting on their ass for decades, ever since World War II. We've been their national defense. We've been Europe's national defense. We're the ones that have been paying out. They're not paying taxes on our armed forces being stationed over there in Europe to this day. They don't pay a dime. So what I'm saying is, why are they even getting involved? Well, we've got their back. We've had their back. They would have been invaded a long time ago. Trump talks about Putin, but Putin would have invaded Europe long before Trump ever became elected in 2016. So what's up with that? What I'm saying is, without America, Europe ain't shit. And so what about Denmark? Denmark can't barely to support its own self. It only puts $5 billion into its own national defense. $5 billion, and that's it. That's all they can put up. It's $5 billion to protect their own country, and they want to protect Greenland. No, that's not going to happen. This is why America needs to take Greenland, take control of it, and I can guarantee there's a lot of people in Greenland that want that to happen, because they want to be protected by America. They're smart enough to know that Denmark cannot not protect them against Russia or China. So there you go. Take Greenland. It's the best move. Their resources are a necessity. Not only the resources are essential toward America's growth and toward the freedom for the freedom world, because anything that America has is greater for the world. Anything that America represents is greater for the world, because America represents freedom. It's the leader of the Freedom March. America is the leader, the true leader. So let's get Greenland. Let's take it. Let's protect those people in Greenland. Let's build that golden dome. that's essential for Greenland. It's essential for us to have Greenland for that to happen. So Greenland is going to be protected underneath the Golden Dome also. Well, God bless Trump for having the leadership he has and for having the strength he has. Because Trump, just like Biden, was born with a set of balls, but he uses his balls. Biden sits on his ass at the beach and can't even stay awake. So that's how he fulfilled his presidency, taking his trips to the beach every weekend. Bernie Sanders, another piece of shit. Why didn't he stay over there in Russia after his honeymoon and remain a citizen in Russia? If he likes socialism so much and communism, why didn't he stay in Russia? Why does he have to shove it down our throats with his silver tongue? Because Bernie Sanders definitely was born with a silver tongue. And that's how he inherited a socialist wife with the kinky hair. Because she's kinky also in her thoughts. She loves the socialist movement, and she's always loved it because she loves Bernie, and she's on his ass like you can't believe. I mean, Bernie Sanders and his wife make a perfect couple, but they're in the wrong country. But he's not going to make that kind of money in Russia that he made in America. So naturally, he wants to come back to America and make his money. And he's currently worth close to $1 billion now. Made his money off that phony newspaper and in Maine. So Bernie Sanders is not the one to worry about. Bernie's going to die. Bernie's going to go in the land down under before long. What we need to worry about is a bitch from hell, Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, the true bitch from hell. This is the one that we need to worry about. This is the person that's young enough and has that silver tongue where she can talk her shit and try to put the icing on the chocolate cake and say, hey, okay, this is the way it's supposed to be because of this, because of that. And she actually has a magnetic effect on a lot of stupid people that follow her and follow her thoughts. So the bitch from hell, that's a great name that I gave her in my book, and that's probably the strongest name I gave anybody. When I gave Gavin Newsom the nickname Uncle Newly in my book, I like the bitch from hell. The name the bitch from hell is much stronger, much more authentic. But Uncle Newly, that's how he acts. He acts like he's our uncle, like he cares about us, about all our needs and everything. And he doesn't give a shit about our needs. He pockets money every time there's a project. I guarantee he got money in his pocket during that phony train project. They've invested, $12 billion in that phony train project? That's horse shit. The Greenland is like 1.25. It's like if you took Alaska, Greenland is 25% larger in landmass than Alaska. Greenland is like 1/4 of America's landmass. Interstate, the 48 states in America, it's 1/4 of America's inland landmass. 1/4. Alaska is like 1/5 of our landmass in the 48 states, in the lower 48 states. Incredible. Greenland has tremendous natural resources, and we can make Greenland a rich country, a richer country than it is. So it's a win-win. So definitely take Greenland. And Don Bacon from Nebraska, he's resigning. So we got rid of another rated R Republican, which I call him in my book, the weak-minded Republicans that want to run on the Republican ticket, but they definitely aren't Republicans. They're closer to being a Democrat. They talk like a Democrat also. So let them run as Democrats. Stop wasting our time. Don't try to pump fake us with running on the Republican ticket and then acting like a Democrat. The Democrats are all full of shit. We need to get rid of them also. They're like the salt shaker. Anytime there's salt in the pepper shaker, Republicans are like the pepper shaker. Trump is like the pepper shaker. That's what Trump is like, the pepper shaker. He likes to shake things up. He likes to ruffle those Democrats' feathers, and I love it. But let's get back to the greedy politicians, the greediest politicians of all on the on the Republican ticket. Well, the greediest politician ever on the Republican ticket is the whore Mitt Romney. Why I call him a Mormon whore, which he is he hides behind this beautiful religion, which is, I think, the greatest religion of all, as far as I'm concerned, because I grew up in Utah and I know a lot about the Mormon Church, and I know like how strict its standards are and how good it is to raise a family in Utah. I think it's the best state in America to raise a family in, and I think it's the most beautiful state in America. So God bless Utah. First book out listed is Beehive Golden Pond in East Windover, Utah. Windover's actually a border town, so it's in 2 states, this small city of 6,000 people, about 90% Spanish people. What a beautiful town this is. That's Beehive Golden Pond on 479 Windover Boulevard in Windover, Utah. Buy a book there and get the free hat along with any book purchase. To purchase my book, go to www.theroadrunnerpodcast.com, and I'll throw in that free hat with any book purchase. My title, The Roadrunner in the Yellow Zone, is the greatest title ever created. Without the sun and the moon feeding off each other, there is no life on Earth. But Mitt Romney has just recently been elected as a senator. Well, he's a rated R Republican. He can't decide which foot to put in front of the other. He changes his mind constantly, and he's a weak-minded Republican. So Mitt Romney is like a typical whore, Mormon whore, that hides behind the church and makes a lot of his money. So he acts like he's a great Mormon, just like my ex-attorney, Matt Johnson, another Mormon whore, along with his subordinate attorney, his assistant attorney, Russ Kubler, another Mormon whore. And, of course, Mike Sant, who went to BYU University, graduated at BYU Law School. BYU is owned by the Mormon Church. The university is owned by the Mormon Church. So there's another Mormon whore. Whether he's a Mormon or not, I think he is, but I don't really think he believes in God because of the way he acts in real life. He's like the devil's disciple. I think he likes inflicting pain on certain people. I know that he likes fucking with my head. When I saw him in the camera store and he smiled at me and I said, "What are you smiling at me for, you scumbag?" I said, "You just robbed me out of a $150,000 retainer. What are you smiling at me for, you punk wannabe gangster?" And that's what he is. He's a wannabe gangster. He has the long hair and like he wears the hair up when he goes in the courtroom and ties it up, and then in real life he lets the hair down. So he thinks he's a real true individual. Well, he's a true individual from the devil. That's what he is, and he's going down one way or the other. I'm going to be at his heels for the rest of his life until I get my money back. And I just recently turned him into district court. So I turned Mike Sant and Matt Johnson into the district court, and I'm suing them for the $150,000 retainer. I want it all back. They refused to give it back when I turned them into the Bar Association because they knew the Bar Association was a joke. And I'll tell you what a joke the Bar Association is. When they gave us a Zoom meeting, I was not allowed to hear one word they said during the Zoom meeting, nor were they allowed to hear what I said during the Zoom meeting. So they blocked that part out. They're not going to be able to block that part out in district court. I'm going to hear everything they say. I'm going to act as my own attorney because I'm not going to let an attorney burn my money up in court trying to get my money back. I know how to beat them in court. I'm a better lawyer than either one of them because I tell the truth. And as long as you tell the truth, that's your strength in life. Always tell the truth. Because if you tell the truth, you can always defeat the weak-minded people that are coming after you one way or the other. Well, Ryan Kirk from the MGM is suffering from David Weber syndrome. That's who I am. I'm DW. I'm the Roadrunner. And I was given that name by my parents, David, and my last name was Weber. But my mother won the argument when my father wanted to name me Joe, but my mother won the argument, and I got the name David. And all three of my older brothers, who suffer from David Weber syndrome also. Until the day they die, they will suffer from the same type of syndrome that Democrats will die suffering from also. Because if they can't figure out one thing to hate, they'll hate something else. That's just the way they are. And they've chosen Trump this particular day and time. And they'll find something else to hate later on. They're definitely going to hate me, so they're going to suffer from David Weber syndrome for their entire lifetime also, because I will not give in to the Democratic politicians. I know that they're lying sack of shit. They're out for themselves. They're greedy politicians, just like many Republican politicians are greedy. 98% of all politicians, congressmen, congresswomen, and senators took donations from Big Pharma. 98%. Mitt Romney, just so I get this correct, has received $3.4 million. $3.4 million in donations from Big Pharma. So what does that mean? If he accepts donations, he's going to return a favor to Big Pharma. That's why they give the donations in the first place. That's why politicians take donations, because they plan on returning the favor. They plan on catering to those organizations or companies or people representing that company that give them in donations. They can't accept the money directly from the company. They accept it from other people that represent the companies, have influence with the other companies, and try to influence the politicians' future decisions. So this is how they get their donations. Well, Mitt Romney got $3.4 million, okay? Let's not leave out Marsha Blackburn, the queen whore of donations from Big Pharma. Marsha Blackburn has received $1.3 million in donations from Big Pharma. $1.3 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Now, you can't just add up all the politicians. There's 435 congressmen and congresswomen. I believe I said there was a different figure before. There's 435 congressmen and congresswomen, and there's 100 senators. The Democrats would like there to be 104 senators. They would like to include Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. as statehoods, so they can have 4 new politicians on their side of the fence, and then they control the Senate. That's their maneuver. That's their strategy. They always have a strategy representing themselves, not a fair strategy for the American public, but a crooked strategy representing themselves and their party. That's why they don't represent the American people. They're always trying to switch things. They want to add more Supreme Court justices, because Trump got like 2 or 3 while he was elected. He got two or three new Supreme Court justices. The Democrats have gotten one, that dingbat lady, the one who does all the talking. She talks more than the album put together. She talks and talks and talks and talks her bullshit. And the Supreme Court's cool as far as I'm concerned, but I don't believe they're quick enough in making decisions. I think they take too long. I think they sit on their ass too long. But as far as that goes, the Democrats want to change everything. They'd like to change, they'd like to change our Constitution. We're not going to get away with it, because we're not going to, if we're smart, we're not going to let them retain power to where they'll ever control Congress or the Senate. Because I can guarantee you, if they control the Congress or the Senate, have the majority over either one, all they're constantly going to do is waste our time and try to impeach Trump. That's all they're going to do after 2028, if they have control of either chamber. That's not good. The American people need representation. We don't need representation to impeach Trump. We voted for Trump. We voted for Trump on purpose. Take control of our borders and kick all the bums out that are trying to freeload off the American public and all the taxes we pay. We're done with that. That's over with. The woke culture is going out the back door. That's what's going on. That's what's going to happen. And these rated R politicians, don't waste our time. Now, I gave Lindsey Graham and I gave John Neely Kennedy a hard time, because they always like to be in public eye. They get on TV as much as possible. So I consider them to be leaders of the Republican Party. Stop taking donations from Big Pharma. This goes for all Republican politicians. Stop taking donations from Big Pharma. The Democrats are going to take no donations from anybody because they're all whores in the wind. They'll take whatever money they can get. Doesn't matter who gives them the money. They're going to take it. They're going to grab it because they spend much more money trying to get elected than the Republicans do. They put so much money against against Ted Cruz, it was scary. So much money against him to try to win the election, but they're incapable of winning, even with that much money, because they have no agenda. What they do is they dwell on one agenda. That's what they do. They can't dwell on total agenda because they have no agenda whatsoever. All they can do is lie, lie, lie. That's all they do. They continually lie. And they dwell on a certain matter, like January 6th. They still can't get off of January 6th. They bring it up every time they try to knock us off knock us off base. Like say if we just hit a single and we're on our way to making that runner run into home plate, they're going to do everything they can to obstruct that. They're going to try to throw us out at second base, third base, and definitely before we get to home plate. So if we get any kind of good agenda or anything good to talk about, they're going to try to switch the subject. That's what they're good at. They'll try to switch the subject. Anytime they want to switch the subject from something that's good for the American people, they'll bring up January 6th, or they'll bring up George Floyd, or they're trying to incorporate what happened regarding George Floyd in 2020. There was a fentanyl addict. Sure, he was killed by a bad police officer who was was overzealous in his job, and when the guy was handcuffed, he got on top of his neck, and so he wasn't able to breathe, and he later died. And that cop is in jail right now. So our system did take care of that cop, but they don't want to bring that up. They don't want to bring up the people that were murdered. They don't want to bring up the people that were killed in traffic accidents and even by truckers that have caused deaths on the highway. They don't want to bring that up. They don't want to bring any agenda that's against their agenda. They just hide it. They hide it underneath the rug. They sweep it underneath the rug. That's what they're good at. They never step forward and show any sympathy toward the mothers that lost their children due to illegal aliens. And give them a pass to the moon or something. Send them to the moon if they want a new life. Where they can get a job and they can take care of themselves and learn to live off the land or whatever it may be. But don't let them come into America so they can live off us and enjoy all the freedoms and rob our system out of money and scam us out of money, such as all the Somalians from in Minnesota. And they're all over America, but in Minnesota, how much money they scammed us out of? I mean, incredible. And they're trying to enact the same thing. Tampon Tim Waltz and Frey. That's right, Frey. Jacob Frey, another useless politician, the mayor from Minnesota. What a useless politician he is. He's a scumbag, a lying scumbag, and preys on misinformation. So both of these scumbags need to be shut up. What is the government waiting for? What are they waiting for? I'm currently going to court over selling sex capsules. Oh, what did I do wrong? I wholesale sex capsules to stores that retail sex capsules throughout America and sell them legally, and the states get their taxes. Every time a sex capsule is sold, they receive their state tax. The federal government has had their hands in the cookie jar. Every year I paid my taxes, they've had their hands in the cookie jar. I actually got reimbursed. Was reimbursed by the IRS. Reimbursed by the IRS last year. So if I didn't pay my taxes, I don't think that I would have got that reimbursement check from the IRS. So I paid my taxes worthily. I subjected myself to paying the payroll tax to the federal government. and they receive their taxes every year. They receive their revenue every year. So they have their hands in the cookie jar and their double standard bullshit. Because Big Pharma does control the federal government back in D.C., the D.C. swamp. That's what all the lobbyists do. The lobbyists represent these companies with all the money, and they influence the politicians into making decisions. And how do they justify this? Donating to the politicians. That's how they do it. That's how lobbyists operate in Washington, D.C. They pay off the politicians one way or the other. They're getting paid off. And they influence the decision-making in Washington, D.C., the D.C. swamp. And that's why Viagra and Cialis is required by prescription. It's all bullshit. Viagra and Cialis shouldn't be sold by prescription. Viagra and Cialis are healthy drugs. They should be sold over the counter, just like sex capsules. Should be readily accessible to the American public. That's how Viagra and Cialis should be sold. And they should be both sell their recipes inside a natural testosterone animal bone sex capsule. That's how they should sell their ingredients, not in a pill that disintegrates like in 8 hours or 24 hours. In a natural time-release capsule that adds natural testosterone to the human body. A longer-lasting recipe. And be less greedy and take over the volume of the shelves in America. If Viagra and Cialis put their name on any product sold in a retail store, people would buy that product because they know it would be consistently good. So they need to go after the volume instead of taking a smaller market and trying to dwindle a large possibility of a larger market to the American people, toward Americans' health, and put those sex capsules readily accessible over the counter in retail outlets throughout America so that the American public can use them on a regular basis. Sure, they're not going to make as much money as they would if they sell it by prescription or jack it up in price, but they're going to win by selling a better product to the American public and dealing a higher volume. Because this product should be sold in a higher volume. Sex capsules should be taken regularly by any adult because it's so heart-friendly, it's so healthy for the human body. Eliminates the chance of inheriting Alzheimer's disease at least 70%, if not more, because a natural testosterone time-release capsule will last longer in the human body. It will have a longer effect. A longer-lasting effect is better for your health, better for your heart. If your blood passages are cleared on a daily basis and last 3 to 4 days each week, each time you take a sex capsule. Whereas Viagra only lasts for like a day in your system, but it's harder on your eyesight because of the quick release, and you're only able to take a 100-milligram Viagra pill once every 3 days. This is exactly why the 50-milligram blue pill, which is the recipe Viagra took from India, that's been around for over a century in India, this is exactly why the 50-milligram blue pill versus 100-milligram blue pill is twice as popular in India, because they can take the 50-milligram blue pill on a daily basis, and it's not as hard on their eyesight. And this is why people take the blue pill. There's only 50 milligrams in India, and it's much more popular because they can only take the 100-milligram blue pill once every 3 days. They could take the 50-milligram blue pill every day. Cialis took the recipe from India also, the yellow pill, which is readily sold throughout all pharmacies in India. You don't need a prescription to buy it in a pharmacy in India. You just need to be an adult and go into a pharmacy and buy it. You can't buy it at a retail store in India, only at a pharmacy. And there's hundreds and thousands of pharmacies throughout India. Pharmacy around every block. So it's readily accessibly sold. Readily and accessibly sold throughout India. They've got a good system that way. In America, the sex capsule is readily sold, and so should Viagra and Cialis be sold the same way, and eliminate this phony prescription law and concentrate on prescription drugs that are more necessary to sell by prescription. And stop inflicting the bullshit onto the American public, which they created the fentanyl craze and first. they created the opioid epidemic by selling it in prescription form. And that's how the American public received its craze from opioids and later fentanyl. So prescription drugs are not cracked up to what they're supposed to be and what they're meant to be. Prescription drugs have caused a lot of hardship in America and have caused a lot of deaths. So I'm going to speak my mind. I'm going to tell the truth because that's the only way to fly. So here it is. Now, getting back to Marsha Blackburn taking $1.3 million in donations from Big Pharma since 2019. She's taken that much. She's right around that time. She's taken that much in donations. The queen bee of donations from Big Pharma, the queen Republican bee of all Republican representatives is Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee. So she needs to stop. She needs to stop taking those donations and vote out this phony prescription law, just like all the other politicians, Republican politicians, need to do, including John Neely Kennedy and Lindsey Graham, that are all on the take from Big Pharma. Stop taking the donations so they influence your decision-making and get this law changed. I know what I'm talking about. Robert F. Kennedy is like for the Food and Drug Administration trying to administer good health for the American public. Well, he needs to let me step on the ladder and take care of business regarding sex capsules and remind the American public how healthy they really are. Because the government's never going to step forward and tell the truth. They're always going to hide behind the lines and take their donations and allow Viagra and Cialis to control the market by its overpriced drug sold by prescription. And that, not to mention insurance companies scamming the public from paying insurance premiums before they take a Viagra pill. They're more worried about Viagra than Cialis, so they make way more money off insurance from Viagra than Cialis. Another retail outlet to buy a book is Chevron Gas, Liquor, and Convenience Store on 1301 East Altman Street. There's 2 Chevron stations. Make sure you get the right one. That's Chevron Liquor, Gas, and Convenience Store on 1301 East Altman Street in Ely, Nevada. You'll get the free hat whenever you purchase my book. To purchase my book, go to www.theroadrunnerpodcast.com, and I'll throw in that free hat with any book purchase. My title, The Roadrunner in the Yellow Zone, is the greatest title ever created. Without the sun and the moon feeding off each other, there is no life on Earth. They own a large share of Cialis, Eli Lilly. So that's who owns Cialis. And Pfizer owns Viagra. These are 2 large pharmaceutical companies, and the politicians need to get it in gear and start taking donations from these companies, including other pharmaceutical companies, and end the ballgame by taking donations so they can try to control all the decision-making in Washington, D.C. Get this knocked out of the block. And Viagra will win big. They'll win big if they start selling sex capsules instead of pills. Over the counter, they sell sex capsules and label it under Viagra. Stamped Viagra. Well, there's going to be imitation products that say they're Viagra or Cialis that come out. So there's going to be stamped properly and authentic, made authentic packaging. And then all the false labeling is taking place on all these sex capsules that are sold over the shelves that are mislabeled. They need to give them a due date on when that needs to be changed. Otherwise, the store, if they buy any product where the authentic packaging is not replaced to authenticity, that packaging has the correct ingredients on the back of the blister pack, on the back of each blister pack, so the public can read the real and true information off that blister pack. Then those stores need to get fined in the future also. So go ahead and make me the assistant czar regarding sex capsules being taken by the American public, and we'll have a much healthier society. Not to mention less people will inherit Alzheimer's disease, die of less heart attacks, and man will be able to reproduce naturally and produce more and more babies, which we need to do. We need to have more babies. We need to have more babies in the American public. America needs to grow that way. We need a younger culture to grow up and rise up in America. And birth is the greatest gift that God has given us. The seed of life, the greatest gift that God has given us as human beings is the seed of life. So, natural testosterone in the human body is a healthier thing to do. So, what better way to do it naturally in a man taking a natural testosterone animal bone capsule twice each week? It would be so much better for society. Not only in America, but throughout the world. And we're the leaders of the world. The rest of the world will follow, trust me. Now, I just want to mention a few things about these politicians. Lindsey Graham received $736,000 in funding from Big Pharma between 2019 and 2024. $736,000. Another full of shit Republican that wants to act like he's representing the American people when he's not really representing the American people. He's representing himself. So enough with the horse shit, Lindsey. Let's get the show on the road and start representing the American public properly. Stop taking donations from Big Pharma. John Lee Kennedy received $325,000 from Big Pharma from 2019 to 2024. So that's less than half what Lindsey Graham received. Like I said, John Lee Kennedy is a little more slick. He takes donations from all types of businesses. And he's a slick star. They both try to be slick stars. Everybody needs to stop taking donations from Big Pharma. It's that simple. And the whore Mitt Romney, one of the 4 Mormon whores that I mentioned on this podcast, get out of politics. Stop wasting our time. You're not really a Republican or a Democrat. You're like a cross-footed politician that can't step forward and know why he's stepping forward and put his foot in concrete and do the deliberate action that a politician needs to take. Deliberate action. Commit himself to deliberate action. Commit him or herself to deliberate action and service toward the American people. And stop taking donations from companies that try to influence your decision-making. Stop. You can't get elected on your own agenda and your own speaking ability. You don't need more money. You just need to get out. It's that simple. To me, politicians, most of them are bum lawyers that didn't want to stay in private practice and remain in private practice. And just like Matt Johnson is a bum lawyer who's, even though he remained in private practice, he targets certain people for more income, doesn't really want to fulfill his task as being a true lawyer toward the American public, represents himself. That's a shyster lawyer. So Matt Johnson, Mike Samp, you're shyster lawyers. You're going down that way. I'll be on your heels till the day I die. And I'm going to get my money back in district court, by the way, so look forward to it. By the time you'll hear this podcast, you'll have already been served by the constable. You will have already been served, trust me, before you even hear what I'm saying right now. That's the power of my podcast. I'm not a newscaster. I don't have to say anything at current moment. I can say it later on. I can talk about it right now, and it comes out back later on. I can guarantee that I'm saying the right thing. Let me elaborate on that. I'm going to tell you something real strong, straight from the street. Trump got shot in Butler. He wasn't murdered. He got shot in the air, just barely away from being murdered. Where did the shot come from? The roof, okay? The rooftop. It was a downward shot. Where did Charlie Kirk get shot and murdered? From the roof. A downward shot. To where the shooter was above the person he was shooting. The shot was thus more powerful and had a more devastating effect. and this shot happened to hit the target right where it was meant to hit. And Charlie Kirk died almost instantly. When I heard Charlie Kirk got shot on September 10th, the same day that I was arraigned in federal court, the same exact day that I was arraigned in federal court, and I heard that, all I could hope was, Charlie Kirk, I hope he lives through this. It didn't hurt him. The shot is only a wound. It only wounded his body, and his brain and his mind will be around and exist. And he will speak his true belief in God and about freedom and about bring forth debate, which is the way it's supposed to be. That's the freedom we're supposed to have. We're supposed to be able to talk our beliefs in public. And if we're arguing with a negator, that's called debate. Well, Charlie Kirk wasn't so lucky. He was murdered on this day, on September 10th. And I'm going to say this, and this is a really strong statement. I don't mean to cause any chaos, but I'm just going to say this because the newscasters never bothered bringing it up on their news shows, and they've had plenty of time to do it. So this is why I don't mind taking the caboose when I make statements like this, because my street savvy is more powerful than any newscaster savvy out there. Okay, but it boils down to this. All they needed was one security guard on either rooftop where Trump was shot in Butler, and a security guard on the rooftop before Charlie Kirk's event ever started. One security guard standing on either roof would have eliminated that shooter from being on the roof and taking that shot. One security guard on each roof. One. Now, we know that their lives are worth more than the time of 100 or 1,000 security guards. There's 1,000 security guards getting paid. They deserve to get paid for the job they're doing. But what I'm trying to exemplify is Charlie Kirk would still be alive. Charlie Kirk would still be alive to this day if he hadn't been shot in Orem, Utah. At the college he was speaking at. Utah University, it's called, where he was speaking. And that's a fact. One security guard had been on the rooftop. Apparently, the people around Charlie Kirk aren't too street smart, because I don't know how anybody didn't think of that. I mean, Charlie Kirk can't think of everything, right? I mean, he's there speaking to the American public. Isn't he supposed to have somebody in his corner that's street smart enough to know to do this? Apparently, he didn't have that person in his corner. So, I've been around a lot of people that think they're smarter than me. They've acted like they're smarter than me. And there's nobody smarter than anybody, especially if you think you're smarter than somebody. You're stupid. Automatically, you're stupid. But if you are sharper in certain situations than other people, then that's called, as far as I'm concerned, that's a different form of street intelligence, a different form of intelligence, so street savvy. So let's just say that I have more street savvy than most, because I've never heard that mentioned on the news about putting a security guard up on the roof of either rooftop where Donald Trump was shot at and hit in the air, and Charlie Kirk was shot and murdered. And his wife can forgive the shooter all she wants. I mean, if that's how she wants to go, and she believes that's the right thing to do, well, so be it. But I've seen the shooter smirk in court recently in the courtroom, and I think he deserves a bullet in his head. That's what he deserves. I think he needs the Moses treatment. I'd give him the Moses treatment. I'd give him the bullet in the head. That's what I would do. But that's what they do in Russia. They don't waste any time with the criminal. They don't waste any time taking them to court and waste the taxpayers' money. They'd rather keep the taxpayers' money for other reasons. Why would they want to waste the money on something so ridiculous as giving this guy even a court case, even a time in court? Well, I'm going to enjoy my time in court, because I deserve my time in court, because I know that I haven't done anything wrong. So as far as that goes, let's talk about when I got locked up in in Atlantic City. Elaborate on that story that I was telling you about. When I was thrown in jail, the same time that LeBron James played his first year in the NBA, and enjoyed watching his games in the jail. It was like a communal jail cell. It's like 70 people were in the same pod, sleeping in the same area in the building. They're sleeping in the same pod, and that's how that jail worked. Well, it wasn't sitting in a small cell, so I liked that. That was enjoyable to be able to be in a large room and not feel claustrophobic and locked in a room, like the jail cell that I was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. But I learned how to maneuver in that jail cell and ran my laps in that jail cell, and I adapted. That's what being in jail is all about. But I'm talking about 3 squares a day. Now I'm eating three squares a day, 3 meals a day. 8 o'clock in the morning is my breakfast. Noon, exactly 12 o'clock, is my lunch, and exactly at 4 p.m. is my dinner. So I'm not eating another meal after 4 p.m. And I clean my plate wherever I eat. I always clean my plate. Another retail outlet selling my book and free hat is Hoover Dam and Liquor in Boulder City, Nevada, just outside of Las Vegas and outside of Henderson, Nevada, just south of there on the way to Phoenix. So that's 1311 Boulder City Parkway is where they're located. Hoover Dam and Liquor. Go over there to the best little liquor store in the state of Nevada. Hoover Dam Liquor. To purchase my book, go to www.theroadrunnerpodcast.com, and I'll throw in that free hat with any book purchase. My title, The Roadrunner in the Yellow Zone, is the greatest title ever created. Without the sun and the moon feeding off each other, there is no life on Earth. So anyway, the pod, like that I was sleeping in and sleeping in at night was like 70 people in the entire pod. So you'd have one bunk on top, one bunk on the bottom, and you'd have about 35 bunk beds in the entire room. And there was a nutcase that was in there that was like trying to mess with me and do like knife me or stick me with a knife or whatever, and I'm asleep in the pod, and all of a sudden like he comes out and he was like standing over my bed when I woke up, and I got up real quickly and got up on the other side of the bed and yelled, and I said, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And the whole pod woke up, and my black brothers came to intervene, and security ended up grabbing the guy. He had like a I think he had a knife in his hand, but he's like he was definitely going to stick me or try to stick me, and they threw him in a private pod, and that's where he stayed the remainder of the time that I was there. I never saw him again. So my black brothers intervened and had my back. I thank my black brothers for that. Whoever you are, you're back in Atlantic City. In fact, I ran into one of them after I got out of jail, and I said hello, and we talked for a minute, and that was it, and I never saw him again. So I got black brothers all over America. I've got black brothers in L.A. I've got black brothers everywhere. So I'm the last person in the world that should go down as a racist. Even though I'll be a hack, poker room manager, poker room director at the Aria, who's suffering from David Weber syndrome. I guarantee you're going to suffer from David Weber syndrome for a very long time. Because I'm going to remind the world what a hack poker room manager really are. You really are. Not understanding how a gambler thinks whatsoever. How can you have a job in a casino, a position in a casino, when you can't even relate to how a gambler thinks? And you'll take the side of your phony cashier in the poker room over me. My last session I lost $8,000. I've never played a hand in the Aria poker room since. But I can guarantee he's been going in there and getting his wages every week or every other week, getting paid by the Aria, which is owned by the MGM Gambling Incorporated, and receiving his totes. And probably making some sly comments that never go any further than the customer and him, because Most people aren't hot-headed like me. Most people won't say anything in the first place. They'll be embarrassed to say anything. They won't. They won't complain about something like that. Me, I'm going to complain. If they're giving me bad service and they're harassing me, I'm going to call them out. And that's exactly what I did. I called that scumbag out the second it happened. And I'm not changing. I'll stay the same way I am. So I could have told the poker room manager that if he had met me in person. I could tell him. I could have told him the situation more vividly, but he would have had to listen. But he had no. He didn't want to listen. He didn't want to care about my side. He didn't care about my side of the fence because he suffers from David Weber syndrome, and he's going to suffer much more from that syndrome because I'm going to bring him up more in the future. In fact, I'm going to say something before I get back to my story in the jail, because I had to get this off the back of my mind. Is his CEO. The CEO and president of the MGM Gambling Incorporated, of MGM Gambling Incorporated, is who else but William Hornbuckle. William Hornbuckle is the president and CEO of the MGM and has been for 5 years, since 2020. Well, isn't that coincidental? Because Jamie Foxx signed his contract in 2020. So that's who brought Jamie Foxx into the picture, into the scam, into scamming the American public to try to bring themselves out of debt and try to initiate the American public betting more and more money, more conveniently, in sports betting. The MGM Sportsbook, all hosted by Jamie Foxx. All initiated by William Hornbuckle. So I'll just call him Hornybuckle from now on. That's what I'm going to call him. So when you hear the name Hornybuckle, that's the president of the MGM who received $2 million in salary, not to mention $3.6 million in bonuses. So he was paid last year $5.6 million for representing the MGM Incorporated. That was his annual income for last year. That's probably why he got the bonus, is because he's slowly bringing them out of debt. In fact, quickly bringing them out of debt, out of the $30 billion debt. $30 billion. And he's received a big bonus for that, and he's going to get a bonus next year for that, because he sold out the American public. That's what he did. When he did that, he sold out the American public. It was a great idea. Jamie Foxx loved it, because Jamie Foxx gets to be treated like a celebrity, but he's a bum. As far as I'm concerned, he's a bum, just like Robert De Niro is a bum. But taking all that money to create the ability for the American public to bet more and more money on sports, he's a scumbag. It's that simple. And you're not gonna like me saying this, that Wayne Gretzky is in the background of this also. So Wayne Gretzky has also sold his soul if he's initiating sports betting with the MGM. Anytime you represent a company over the American public and over America, well, your company can definitely kiss my ass, and you can kiss my ass. Because what good would your company be if it wasn't in the freest and greatest capitalist country in the world, which is America? So you sold out America, you sold your soul, as far as I'm concerned. You can't take the money with you. You came in this planet broke, you're going to die broke. So there you go. And I also want to mention another politician. I'm glad it was a Republican that we got rid of. And that politician was, what's his name? Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy. What a bum he was. Man on the take. In fact, his roommate was a Democrat, so he was a rated R Republican from start to finish, and even leader of the House, but they didn't like him in the House because they saw through his bullshit, and they badmouthed him, and and they got him out. Now Mike Johnson is doing a much better job. So God bless Mike Johnson. But Kevin McCarthy, you're full of shit. I always knew you were full of shit. And I'm glad you're no longer in politics. So take your money, whatever money you made, and pocket it. And have a good life. Have a good life. I can't think of anything else other than just saying Mitt Romney is like the most full of shit Republican as far as like as high as he was up on the totem pole. I actually voted for Mitt Romney because I hated Obama. I hated gay Obama, gay Barack Obama. And that's why I voted. For the very first time I ever voted in my life, ever since Ronald Reagan. When I was 25 years old, I voted for Ronald Reagan for his second term, which was a unanimous decision among states. The only state he didn't win was the bullshit state, Minnesota. And look what's happening in the bullshit state in Minnesota right now. But that's the only time that I ever voted other than for Trump. So I voted for Reagan once. I voted for Mitt Romney because I would vote for anybody to keep Obama out of the presidency. And I voted for Donald Trump twice. That's the only times I've voted in my life. I'm ashamed to say that because I was a gambler. Gamblers don't care about who the president is. They don't care about politics because gamblers only care about themselves. That's our mentality as gamblers. That's why I was a gambler for year after year after year after year because I didn't care about all the exterior activities that were going on around me. I didn't care about watching TV. I played pool 7 days a week. I lived, eat, and breathed. Lived, ate, and breathed off of playing pool. I was a traveling bird going northeast, south, or west, and that's all I did was travel. If I went back to my home state, Utah, and hung out in my home state, I was always gone within the month and on another road trip, and this went on for years. And I traveled as a poker player also, so there you go. And my travels brought me all the way back to Atlantic City where I got arrested and got a resisting arrest because I swallowed the rocks before the cops got to me. The dirty police got to me, and they weren't after the people selling the drugs. They were just trying to file certain arrests and act like they were doing their job. And actually, when they went to the room where I scored the crack, they had like 7 drug dealers up there, Spanish and black drug dealers, youngsters up there, young stars, selling their drugs and slinging their drugs for the man that was paying off the cops. The guy who was supplying them with the drugs was probably paying off the cops, so the guy above him was paying off the cops. But either him or somebody above him was paying off the police. Because when we went up to the room and checked the room, there were no drugs in the room because they had a window in the back. My street savvy's coming out again, so I'll tell you exactly what went down. They were up on the second floor, and it was an alley in the back of the hotel. It was like a dead alley. No businesses facing the alley. It was just a little driveway through the alley. And it had a little small bathroom window, no larger than like 1.5 foot high and 1 foot wide, where they opened up the window and they slung the drugs out to a receiver, who's one of the gang members, who's sitting down there and waiting for all the drugs to be thrown down to his presence. And so he's got all the drugs in his hand, and he walks out, he catches all the drugs that are slung down from the second floor, gets them all in his possession, and then walks away from the vicinity, and then all of a sudden they raid the room. So they were obviously tipped off by the dirty cop, and or their drug dealer that was supplying them. So he got a call from the dirty cops, and they told the drug dealers the cops were coming in to raid the room. They get rid of all their drugs. The cops come in the room to raid the room, and they're all sitting there playing video games in the room. That was on the police report. They're all playing video games. And while you're sitting in jail, you're thinking a lot of thoughts. And I'm thinking about this, and I'm figuring it out in my brain, and that's exactly what went down. And I figured out who ratted me out and who put the task force on me in the first place. It was the undercover cop, the young star, who was like sitting next to me in my Monte Carlo. I handled the rocks of crack to. After I scored him, got my Monte Carlo, put the lock on my door, so my door was automatically locked at the car completely. My Monte Carlo, and I've got my drink in my console, and I drive off, and then I see the cherry lights behind me, and then they come up and run and gank my car, come running right up to my car, and they're at my window, want me to roll down the window, and when I got while they're running up to the car, I get the undercover rat cop to hand me back the rocks, and I put them in my mouth and swallowed them and drank them with my straw and my drink and swallowed them down my throat. And by the time I opened the window, the cops were so aggravated because they knew that I just swallowed the rocks. They dragged me out head first out of the car, knocked my head down on the pavement, stomped onto my head, and said, "Cough that shit up, cough that shit up." And I never coughed that shit up. But I got a resisting arrest and got stitches in my head before, from the gash in above my eye, from being knocked down on the pavement, and that's part of going to jail, right? So I got busted. I got a resisting arrest. They had to have a reason why they beat my head in the pavement, so naturally I was a resisting arrest, and that's what they wrote on the report, which was just as bad as getting caught with the rocks of cocaine. It's 3 rocks of cocaine. That's what I got caught with. It was like down my throat, but I got the resisting arrest instead of the 3 rocks of crack. And my bail was $10,000. 2 weeks later, it was $7,000. So my bond originally was $1,000, and my bond went down to $700. You think I can get one of my millionaire brothers, 3 older brothers, to bail me out? No, of course not. I got to sit in jail for 90 days, and I enjoyed jail as best I could. I did my push-ups every day. I starved to death. I lost about 20 or 30 pounds in that 3-month period. And it was like jail was okay. It wasn't bad. I mean, I handled myself well in jail. I have a strong brain. I've got a strong mind. I'm a strong thinker. I'm not going to be intimidated by anybody sitting in jail. And I got respect from people. That's the way I am. That's how I do it. I mean, I'm not a punk, and I'm proud of that. But I sat in jail for 90 days, waiting to see the judge when I could have got bailed out immediately by one of my 3 brothers. My 2 sons could have bailed me out. They were in my 20s. They could have got up $700 together. They could have got it from my ex-wife. They could have got the money. They could have worked it. They could have hustled it, but they didn't. I never resented my sons for that. I resented my older brothers for that because they had plenty of money. They should have bailed me out. They should have gone out of the way to bail me out because they never spent a day in jail. They don't know what jail is like. So why are they? Why does their opinion mean anything about me sitting in jail and why that's the right thing? Why that's the correct thing? They didn't know anything about jail because they didn't know anything about sending me any commissary, like $20 every other week or whatever for commissary. $20 a month for commissary, not a dime. Commissary to where I could buy popcorn and pop the popcorn and eat an extra meal later at night to get just a little nutrition in my and just add it to my body. But no, they didn't care about that. They had their strong opinions. They're strong-minded also, so they stuck with their philosophy that let him rot in jail. Let him rot in jail. It's his own fault. Maybe he'll learn a lesson. Well, let me tell you what you learn when you're sitting in jail. You learn how to resent why you got thrown in jail in the first place and why I got set up in the first place, because I was not set up by a correct system. I was caught by dirty cops who were trying to act like they were doing their job when they should have gone after the drug dealers in the first place. Instead, they went after the drug addicts. And one of those drug addicts was me, a chipmunk on crack. And I got out of jail. This is the funny part. My bail that was $700 to bail me out, and I had to sit in jail for 90 days to see the judge in the courtroom, which was like right next door to the jail cell, like in the next building. 90 days waiting to see the judge when I could have got bailed out and got my car out of the police tow lot. Well, you know what my bail was on my car in the police tow lot? And this is one of the reasons why I'll never speak to my brothers and never have anything to do with them in the future. My bail to get my own self out of jail was $700 that they could have put up. Either one of the three of them could have put up. But naturally, they're Peyton Place dwellers, and they all suffer from David Weber syndrome, and they'll suffer from it to the day they die. They'll suffer from David Weber syndrome. And I feel sorry for them because, you know, why would they want to hate me in the first place? I'm their brother. I'm the youngest brother. They're supposed to be the leaders of my family, but they're not leaders. I'm the leader of my family. I am the true leader of my family. I'm the black sheep, and the black sheep is the leader of the flock. One way or the other, the black sheep is the leader of the flock. Whether it's done directly or indirectly, the black sheep is the leader because the black sheep broke off from the flock of sheep and doesn't follow. While all the other sheep will follow the other leader of the white sheep straight off a cliff. They'll follow the sheep right off the cliff, the leader of the white flock. They'll follow them straight off the cliff and follow their death. Take your car to Zach Hall's Urban Auto Works on 1010 North Stephanie Street, Suite 1A. I can guarantee it'll be the best mechanical work that will ever be done on your car. It's a personalized job for them. It's not a game of numbers. They're conscientious on anything they do. That includes oil changes, fluid flushes, alignments, brakes. Any kind of diagnostic work that needs to be done, they specialize in, and they do all types of engine work, top of the line. Take your car to Zach Hall's Urban Auto Works on 1010 North Stephanie Street, Suite 1A in Henderson, Nevada, straight out of Vegas. Anywhere in Las Vegas you live, take your car there. You can't go wrong. You can't miss. To purchase my book, go to www.theroadrunnerpodcast.com, and I'll throw in that free hat with any book purchase. My title, The Roadrunner in the Yellow Zone, is the greatest title ever created. Without the sun and the moon feeding off each other, there is no life on Earth. In fact, there's a restaurant just before Preston, Idaho, in Cache Valley, called the Cliff Inn restaurant. The Deer Cliff Inn. It's called the Deer Cliff Inn restaurant. And if it's still open, go check it out. Food's awesome. That's the Deer Cliff Inn. I'll just throw that in because I haven't been there for years. But I want to stop by there if I ever drive up through Cache Valley and through Preston, Idaho, before I arrive in Preston, Idaho. Strong Catholic town. Catholic towns are just about as Mormon towns when they're predominant. They're just as bigoted as they are in a Mormon town that's like 90% Mormon. Catholic towns the same way. So there's no religion better than the other, but I'll take the Mormon religion over the others because it's a stricter religion and harder religion to abide by. So fuck the 4 Mormon whores that are like using the Mormon church to embezzle money from the American public, all the way to Mitt Romney and all the way back down to the subordinate Russ Gubler. And there's 2 in-betweens, Matt Johnson and Mike Samp. Kiss my ass. Lots of luck. I'm going to be on your heels for life. It's a beautiful thing to think about, like why we're put on this planet in the first place, why we're even here. I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with money. It's about our souls, about our heart, about the driven path that we're on, about our belief in our life, and about what we're doing and what we want to do in the future. And my belief is stay true to yourself and stay true to others. That's the golden rule. That's the golden rule of my lifetime. It's just to stay true to yourself and to others. And to any pet you have, stay true to your dog, your cat, whatever it may be. Stay true. But getting my car out for $2,200. It cost me $2,200 to get my car out of the police tow lot in Atlantic City. $2,200. My bail was only $700 2 weeks after I was thrown in jail. I've literally sat in jail in America for 100 days of my lifetime. 98 of those days, my weak-minded family who wanted to try to act like they were strong, but they weren't, could have used their true leadership to get me out of jail. Instead, they used their false leadership to keep me in jail. And that goes all the way to, like, my brothers not bailing me out, me staying in jail for 90 days. And then when I get out, I have to pay $2,200 to get my Monte Carlo out of the tow lot, out of the police tow lot. $2,200, over 3 times my bail, or my bond, over 3 times the bond to get out of jail, to bring myself out of jail so I can function in real life. Well, maybe I would have gone out the same day that I got out of jail and smoked crack, which is exactly what I did do. But I didn't smoke crack because I liked it. I smoked crack because I wanted to hide from reality, because I wanted to escape reality, because I knew that reality was bullshit on the outside. I knew it was bullshit on the outside. That's why I got high in Atlantic City, because I was in a bullshit town. Bullshit, crooked, gambling town in America, Atlantic City, New Jersey, which I once loved when I first went there. I like Atlantic City, but I don't ever have the love for Atlantic City. I never will have the love for Atlantic City that I originally had when I first went back there from Biloxi, Mississippi. And I rode my bike down the Black Horse Pike to work out in the gym every day. That was before I ever took a hit of crack. I was immune from crack at that time in my life. I had to wait until I went back to the Oasis Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada, and take my first crack hit. Then I asked myself, well, what did I wait so long for after I took the hit? It felt good. And I thought, man, why did I wait so long? Well, getting high on crack changed very quickly after that, especially after I swallowed a few rocks. I never had the same high again. When you swallow a few rocks of cocaine, which I panicked and I swallowed the rocks because I thought somebody was going to come through the door. And I swallowed the rocks. My head was vibrating. I mean, I was like vibrating for hours, hearing vibrating noises. And ever since I swallowed those rocks, I never had the same high again. All I was doing was chasing the original high. That's all the drug addicts do. They're chasing the original high. That's what they're trying to escape to, is that first great high that they had. Because every high after that is downhill. Trust me, downhill. The only thing good downhill is going down the hill of a ski resort, skiing down the mountain of a ski resort. That's the only greatest feeling. It's not riding the lift and paying to ride the lift that constantly goes up in price. It's getting to the top of the mountain and wrapping your ski poles around your wrists and going down the mountains and skiing. And that's all I learned how to do was snow ski. I never learned how to snowboard. But if I'd had it all over again, I'd learn how to snowboard. Because, for one thing, it seems to be a freer sport than skiing. And you don't have to use ski poles. You're using your body, balancing your body. So snowboarding seems way more fun. But to a skier, snowboarders like tear up the mountain. I could care less. Snowboarding is freedom. So it's not my decision to keep you off the mountain and tell you that you can't snowboard because you're tearing up the mountain for me to ski on. I don't think like that. Never have, never will. But snowboarders, I believe to this day, can't even snowboard at Alta Resort. They eliminate snowboarding. And I've never been to Alta in a long time. But if I ever went to Alta, that's not the reason I'd go. It's because Alta has some of the best skiing there is in the world. And the best mountains. And Alta's the original resort that sold the lower piece of land to Snowbird, which is a very popular resort also in Little Cottonwood Canyon. They're actually the 2 ski resorts in Little Cottonwood Canyon. And then you've got Brighton and Solitude in Big Cottonwood Canyon. Solitude was my favorite resort because I was able to ski there so cheaply. I got a season pass for like $100. $100 ski pass, year annual ski pass, fantastic. That year I went skiing more than any other year. I skied about 40 or 50 times that year. That was a lot for me because ordinarily I only skied like maybe 10, 15, 20 times a year. But I still remember the 2 best skiers in my lifetime that I grew up with. Bob Gerard was the best and Gil Gilman was the next best. And they were both fantastic skiers, but Why they never made the U.S. ski team, I still wonder why to this day. Maybe it was just like being connected to where they knew how to go about it, or maybe lacking the drive to where they didn't do it. But they were definitely the two best skiers I ever saw in my lifetime for my age. I remember seeing Stein Eriksen ski down the mountain one time in Park City, and his form was like absolutely tremendous. It's just like perfect, like a bird flying down the mountain perfectly along the surface of the mountain, twisting right and left. The skis were like perfect. The way they stuck together, and he just skied down it just like so beautifully. That's how I ski. Except when I have to ski through moguls, and I don't ski quite as good, but I still ski good. But the thing I need to work on to this day is skiing the powder, learning how to lean back in the powder and ski the powder. But I was never a good powder skier because I never liked skiing during a snowstorm. Powder skiers love skiing when it's snowing. Utah's got the best snow on earth, hands down. So God bless anybody who loves powder skiing. I can't help to talk about nature because nature is all around us. Our nature surrounds us in every shape and form. So it's God's beauty, and we the more we enjoy nature, the more we learn to live off nature. And farmers and ranchers, they've learned to live off nature, and they enjoy nature more than probably any other Americans. Farmers and ranchers enjoy nature, working in nature and living and thriving off nature. So God bless all farmers and ranchers. You're what makes America roll, along with all the truck drivers, makes America roll. You really bring America to its present form. You're the greatest livers of capitalism there are. You're the greatest providers of capitalism there are. And as far as capitalism goes, we're represented by representatives that create laws for our capitalistic society. That's the way it is. And sometimes they create great laws, and sometimes they create phony laws. But I can guarantee you, any regulation is bad for the economy and bad for the American public. Get over it. Definitely get over it, because we've got all the fossil fuel we're going to need in our lifetime, and in our sons and daughters' lifetime, and anybody else after them. So fuck the political climate activists, all the way to Al Gore, all the way to all the people that fly to Switzerland and try to incorporate their new ideas, flying in their private jets. Kiss my ass. You're no better than me. You have no knowledge. You have no sense of reality. You remind me of movie actors that continue to do the same thing and try to preach their belief in their inability to truly think realistically, because they all suffer from Trump syndrome. Just like poker rooms in Vegas suffer from David Weber syndrome, because they can't take our outspokenness. That's why Democratic politicians hate Trump, because everything he says is correct, is politically correct, but they can't stand him because he's against everything they're trying to incorporate, which is socialism. Socialism in America is oozing in through every crevice in America. It's going to ooze into New York City. It's already oozed into New York City. And socialism is going to sweep America slowly but surely if we don't douse it out and douse out the flames and get rid of the representatives that are socialist thinkers. Because as long as we have socialist thinkers in there, they are not representing the American people. Believe me, they are not. They do not want to change their lifestyle. They want to live the rich life, and then they want to tell us how to live. And I can think of the ways of this. What's his name? His name is Swab. What's his name? The guy from Sweden, Ivan. What's the guy's name from Sweden? The guy who wants us to eat plants and eat insects. That's what he wants us to eat. He wants us to eat insects. That's what he wants us to have as our diet in the future. And real nutcase. Nutcase from Sweden. Sanders is a nutcase. Ocasio-Cortez is a nutcase. The bitch from hell. I wish I would have nicknamed Bernie Sanders, but he'll probably die before I can think of a name for him. So let him dwindle away and lay in the hay. I didn't nickname Mitch McConnell. I haven't nicknamed my brothers, which I have nothing to do with. They can go lay in the hay and enjoy their lives as best they can, and they can die with David Weber syndrome because I'm not going anywhere. I'm stepping forward. I'm on a stronger path now than I've ever been on my lifetime, because now I'm able to express myself. After I wrote my book, it was all about learning how to express myself verbally. So this is exactly why I'm doing my podcast, because I can write like a champion, and I'm going to try to talk like a champion. But don't ever depend on people that don't want to give you back that same friendship. Get rid of that friendship. That's not him. It's not him. I wrote about him in my book. The name will come to me. I'll think about him on my next podcast. I'll get the information on my next podcast. But anyway, you get these things going, and you get these things going in your head. And I'm thinking about things to say all the time. But I'm going to tell you this right now. This Hornbuckle, which I will now call Hornybuckle, he's going to wish that Ryan Kirk had never kicked me out of the poker room. Never told me you're out of the poker room. You're out of MGM indefinitely. Because indefinitely, that's a strong word. That means that you just told me that that I no longer have the opportunity to walk on property that you don't even own. You can't even pay your debts. You're $30 billion in debts, and you have to swindle the American public so that you can pay your debt off. Hornybuckle. And you're getting bonuses for this because, like, your company is so happy that you're bringing them out of debt. Well, all of you just sold out America, because America's greatest downfall is sports betting. So you've basically sold out the American public to bring your own selves out of debt. Now imagine if your company was a third world country, which you basically want to try to incorporate in America, is bring America down to bring your company out of debt. Well, what good is your company being successful in a third world country, or in a country that's unsuccessful itself, to where you've caused so much hardship to American families and American people? Because sports bettor is like a drug addict. They're no different. Once you start sports betting, you're chasing that high. That's what a sports bettor does. He chases that high. He chases that next bet, because he wants to get back the old bet that he lost. And that's exactly what a sports bettor does. Exactly what a sports bettor does. Is like he or she is chasing that last bet, because they want to get back what they lost. And then they want to win some, because their own greed takes over. This is how casinos make their money. They make their money off people's emotions. So naturally, gamblers are emotional after they win or lose. They're either of good emotion or bad emotion. But the golden rule is no help should ever mess with a gambler, especially after they lost their money. They should not mess with a gambler's head and try to harass him in any way, shape, or form. Just stay away from it. The guy goes up to cash his money out of the cage out of a casino pit. So say you're gambling and playing blackjack or craps or roulette, and you lose a lot of money, and then all of a sudden you take a small amount of chips up to the window. Do you think that as somebody in the cashier cage is going to say something smart to a high roller? No. It's never going to happen. They're never going to say anything. They're never going to make that comment. Number one, they weren't able to view that he or she was losing in the first place, so they're not going to be emotional about it and try to bring out the gambler's emotions. But that's exactly what this person did in the cage when he said, "Do you really want this?" Well, I hit the roof. I gave him both fingers, and I told him to stop talking like the person he was. I was calling him out, and I got kicked out for it. Now, I'm kicked out indefinitely because I'm wondering why I was even kicked out in the first place. Now, if I had a bad day playing poker, kick me out for the night. I come back the next day. Tomorrow's a new day. That's how you treat gamblers. This is why people gamble in the first place. People gamble in the first place because they're competing one way or the other. They're competing, whether it be against the house, which people do when they gamble in the pit, because you're always gambling against the house. You're always betting against the house. But in a poker room, you're not betting against the house. You're betting against other players. So why would the house even go out of their way if you're gambling against the house in the pit, and the person in the cage is never going to go out of his way to make a comment when you're gambling against them when you lose? Why would they go out of their way to say something to you, to harass you in any way, shape, or form in a poker cage when you're not even gambling against the casino? Does that make sense to you? They are not your adversary. They are a neutral party. They are supposed to remain a neutral party that brings people in for you to gamble against. They're supposed to stay non-emotional and make non-emotional comments and make them try to feed off your emotions. They're not supposed to try to feed off your emotion. And this bum poker director, Ryan Kirk, is the one who kicked me out of the room, wouldn't allow me to go back in the room, and then kicked me out indefinitely. You don't think that he talked to Hornybuckle and said, "Oh, William Hornbuckle, sir, I just kicked out David Weber because I'm suffering from David Weber syndrome, but I just don't want him back in the room because I just don't think he's good for business." Well, I lost $8,000 the last day I played. So that obviously made another poker player very happy who beat me out of my money. So that was good for business, because that's what brings poker players back in the room, is because they went off of others. That's why they come back the next day. And that's why poker players come back the next day that lose money the day before or that week, sometime during that week. They come back in to try to get their money back because they're competing to either win their money back or win more money. That's why gamblers walk into a poker room to play poker, to play live poker, to compete with other players. The house getting involved and harassing another player when they have nothing to do with it in the first place, that's completely out of line. And that would never happen in the main cage outside of a pit. Outside of pit gambling. Never happened. Never would have happened. They would never make that comment. But they make those comments in the poker room because if you come up and you cash out a lot of chips, whether you're winning or losing, they don't know whether you won. You could be stuck in a game like 10,000. You can come back and cash out $8,000 in chips and you're still stuck 2,000. And that idiotic cage member is going to expect a toke from you because you've cashed out so many chips. They don't know whether you won or lost because they're not able to watch every poker table in the room when all the poker tables are going. A lot of poker tables are hidden from the cage to where they can't see the people gambling. So they don't know, and they're not personally involved whether a person's winning or losing in the first place. But this particular moment, early in the day, when my table was basically the only table in the room, a lot of people were watching the session. These cage members were watching, I can guarantee it, because that's why he made the comment when I went up to the cage. So, Mr. Hornybuckle, you need to hear me right now. I would not be complaining right now. I would not be exposing your casino and the management of your casino on how you had this lucrative idea to sell out the American public, to hire Jamie Foxx as your gambling ambassador, to embezzle the American public, money out of the American public in their ability and in their convenient method of betting sports. That's what you're doing. That's what you've done. You sold out the American public, who's suffering from the national dilemma of sports betting in the first place. So you're actually living off the sweat of other people that died for your freedom, for you to have a company in America in the first place making money in a capitalistic environment, in a capitalistic society, and you're thriving off of that. Amazing. That's just amazes me. So you've got a bonus. You got a bonus last year of like $3.6 million plus $2 million in salary from a company that's losing money, that's currently in debt, that was in debt $30 billion. I don't know what your debt is currently now. I know that you're driving down your debt, but you're doing it all with the use of Jamie Foxx and creating the convenient method of sports betting to the American public. There's so many houses that are lost in foreclosures in Las Vegas because people have a gambling problem. There's houses that are lost in foreclosures throughout America because people have lost all their money but sports betting. There's marriages that are broken up. There's people that have lost their businesses due to sports betting. There's people that have lost their entire income, annual income, and paying off Shylocks, paying off loan sharks to sports bet. Because sports betting is like shooting heroin. Once you start, it's hard to quit. But you're enjoying this moment, horny buckle. And you're being exposed right now because you're idiotic poker room manager, poker room director that wouldn't even have his job without the World Series of Poker. You wouldn't even have a poker room. You'd have that area filled up with slot machines, but instead you have a poker room, and he's acting like he's a real success, like he's like a huge asset to your casino management, the MGM Gambling Incorporated. He's a piece of shit. And the sooner you get rid of him, the better. And the sooner you allow me to walk on your property, the better, because I'm going to be at your heels for the rest of my life, for the rest of my time as a podcaster. I'm going to remind the American public to never go into your public establishments and gamble in the first place. Go downtown, my people. Go downtown Vegas and gamble. Don't walk in the MGM properties and gamble. And don't bet sports with the MGM. They can kiss my ass and make them kiss your ass. Don't give them your money sports betting. If you're going to sports bet with somebody else. Don't do it with the MGM because they already know that sports betting is America's downfall, and they're using the American public to bring themselves out of debt. All the way to Hornybuckle and all the way to his subordinate, Ryan Kirk. Kiss my ass. Don't tell me where to walk. This is my town. I'm the Roadrunner, the Roadrunner podcast. And if you get bored in life, get a dog. You can get a purebred dog out of an animal shelter. You can get a purebred because the reason why you can get a purebred is because people won't take a purebred because they have to either neuter them or spay them. It doesn't matter what kind of dog you adopt from an animal shelter. You have to neuter them or spay them, so you can't breed them. So people on purpose will not take like a blue-nosed pit bull, female pit bull, like I was able to adopt from the Huntington Beach Animal Shelter because I had to have her spayed. So, again, if you get bored in life, adopt a dog. They're waiting for you. They need you. God bless you if you do this. And I love all of you. You're all my brothers and sisters. To anybody who wants to treat me like a punk white boy cracker or anybody else who wants to badmouth me, I'm going to call you out. But I've got a lot of black brothers out there that say hello to me and shake my hand and give me the knuckle, and it's all good. And the MGM, you can definitely kiss my ass. See you next time. The Roadrunner, straight out of Vegas, the Roadrunner podcast.